Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. So today we are again, connected on GMAT Club, and please do share where you are logging in from. I would love to hear, your story and where you are joining us from. And what we are planning to discuss today is about, breaking into the top international MBA programs. So, as Indian applicants, it is a dream to go abroad and study in the top programs. So we have admits joining us today. They have admits from the Wharton EMBA, and Harminder, she has an admit from the INSEAD MBA. She also had other admits from the top B schools across US as well as India. Saket is joining us. He's going to join the program, the Rotman MBA program. Abhijit has a very unique background. He has a background from the oil and gas sector, and he's joining us. And he's going to join the program for the SMEAL MBA. And Webber, he's scheduled to join the UVA Darden MBA. So while the applicants have a tech background, we have applicants from the analytics background, and we also have an applicant from the oil and gas background. So feel free to ask any questions that you have with respect to breaking into the top international MBA programs. And thank you everyone for joining me today. And please do share with us your introductions and tell us about which international MBA or executive MBA program you were admitted to. So, Venki, you could go first in case we are audible. Harvinder, would you like to go first? Acha,
Hey,
Venki is there. Yes, please.
can you hear me? Hi.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
so yeah, I just got my admit to Wharton, Wemba, as they call it. Just got it like last Tuesday, and I come with a global exposure of working in three different countries. Primarily started on the business on the business arena to work with, then transitioned over to IT and then to data science. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much about it. Right now I'm on vacation, so Shruti decided that how can he have all the fun, so let's ruin by keeping call at night. Just kidding.
On a
So
weekend.
yeah, on a weekend, and I'm based out of Dallas, Texas, by the way. So yeah,
Yes.
right now in Bangalore. Yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Right. So, guys, we've already spoiled the fun for you. So, Harminder, please go ahead and tell us about yourself and which international program you are headed to, and also the admits that you had.
So, hi guys. I am coming from a software engineering background. I've been working in the industry for the last 5 years. I worked in Zoho and then I transitioned into Oracle, and I am currently in their cloud applications department as a senior software engineer. So, that's with respect to my professional background. I have a computer science engineering degree from SRM University, and that's with respect to my education. And I'm currently going to INSEAD MBA. I'm starting in August. The other admits that I had apart from INSEAD are ISB. Um, I had Haas, UC Berkeley Haas, Tuck, UVA Darden, Tepper, and Cornell, with different varying amount of scholarships across different programs.
Excellent. And Saket, please tell us about your background and which program are you headed to?
Sure. So, hi everyone. I'm Saket. I started my I have an admit from Rotman MBA, which is University of Toronto, and I come from an engineering background as well. I did my engineering from Punjab Engineering College, post which I started working at JP Morgan, and as of now, I work at JP Morgan as a project manager, and I have roughly 4 years of work experience. So, yeah, that's pretty much it about me.
Great. And Abhijit, please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone. I'm audible, right?
Yes.
So I'm Abhijit. I'm a mechanical engineer. I have started my career as a engineer in oil and gas in Bharat Petroleum. Initially, I was handling supply chain operations and logistic optimization. And currently, I'm working in Ernst& Young as a senior associate in supply chain consulting, mainly providing consulting solutions to different industries across the country. I've been admitted to SMEAL, and apart from SMEAL, I had an admit from Shoreditch. So yeah, that's about it.
That's great. And Vaibhav, please share your introduction as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Webher, and I just realized that Harminder and I share the same college. So I'm from SRM University and batch from 2018. I did my undergrad in electronics and communication engineering, and for past 5 years I've been working with healthcare analytics with ZS and Novartis. Yeah, and I always wanted to work towards more of a decision-oriented background. So that's where I decided MBA is the next step forward, and I'll be joining UVA Darden's class of 2025. So yeah, really looking forward to answering more of your questions around it.
Excellent. And starting from the very beginning, what motivated you to pursue an international MBA or an EMBA? For the international MBA programs, yes, the motivation is slightly very typical as per the career growth. And what about, when you differentiate it with an EMBA program? So I think, Venki, we would like to hear your thoughts first, and then we look at how, they went into selecting their programs that they applied to.
Yeah, so I was planning for this for ages now. When I've been almost there and not just didn't apply. When I was in Toronto, also I applied for. I almost applied for UFT, and then I didn't. And then I decided, okay, I want to do data science. So I went to Queens in Toronto for an MS in data science while I was working. It was the only program which allowed you to do both work and study and yet give you a full-time degree, so which made sense at that point in time. uh, so I've been pushing this out for quite some time, but this I think it was very hard to convince yourself not to do it from a probably a top tenor or something like that. So that was the only thing probably which um, I guess motivated me to probably go for an international one is one. And second, even if it is a little later, I would rather do it from the top five, top six in terms of the impact. So that those are the two aspects of it. And I was already based out of Canada, so I had a Canadian passport as well. So like moving, like using this as a route to move was not something that I was looking for. I was looking for something more impactful. Hence, this. I guess this path that I pursued right now towards the EMBA. And also the other thing is, beyond a certain point, you tend to realize that it is it obviously would make sense to probably strengthen yourself academically on a lot of areas when you really want to move up the ladder, at least have that jump of 2 3 levels up, rather than wasting time, because you end up seeing your boss doing almost the same thing with probably few extra emails that he or she gets. So this is not where I want to be. Like
Correct.
we would probably look at a strategic overview of what things are at a business level, and probably a good B school can probably give you that springboard, if I may call it that, to really peep out of the window from a higher balcony, if I may call it that. Yeah, so that's about it.
Correct. And Vicky, we do have, a lot of people at this, the period of their career around 12 to 13 years of work experience, where they are considering programs like the full-time MBA programs or an EMBA program. And that is where the whole conjecture of, the decision making happens as to which program you should go for. So, are there any suggestions or any thought processes that you had in mind when you decided on this program? I think you
Well, I
applied
wanted
only to one.
Yeah, I just applied to one because I think so. I've been doing R&D from, so just way back in 2002. Also, I did a lot of R&D. To be honest, like I'll just take you back in time machine to some extent. Those days, you could actually order brochures, and internet was just new in India. You could order brochures to be delivered to your house, for undergraduation. So I probably had like probably all the cricket playing county wala, all the counties names were added to the university, right? Leicester and Sussex and all these universities brochures were there at my place. So from those days, I've been researching even the B schools beyond a certain point. I think when you have around 10 to 12 years, I think either it's a very I would say thin line, which is not even funny, where you would want to actually go for a full time for obvious reasons, but you're so addicted to seeing money in your account and having a certain lifestyle, which will get cut for sure. And especially today's day and age, even if you think you're self-disciplined, Instagram wouldn't make you feel so. It'll make you feel like something else. So probably it's very difficult to actually. Instagram is just one example. I mean, we all know there are enough. Uh, there are enough people, right, like out there जो personal loan लेके मतलब show off करते हैं वैसे Instagram वैसे वाले लोग की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं मतलब I'm sorry but you have a lot of people like who might make you feel so so I'm not talking only from that perspective, but uh, also you need to really draw a line whether you really are okay to take the pressure of working and studying in a for an EMBA. Because if you're doing an executive MBA, I would say just don't do it for because you have no other choice and you want to do one MBA. Do it from a very good one. And so I mean, of course it applies to full time too, but that 10 to 12 year work ex juncture is where you need to really be very sure whether you're okay taking that risk of an executive MBA or not, or if you want to really have a safe bet, you're okay going out to a class where on an average you might be 3 to 4 years elder to the class from an age perspective, so the number of people in your age group will be a little lesser. And of course certain opportunities, obviously, you pass that age, right? Like you really cannot walk into being an analyst at a private equity firm after an MBA, after a full-time MBA, if you have 10, 11 years of work. It's very difficult. You might, but that the probability is very, very minuscule. So that is so it has to be a mix of these two, three things, and also as to what you want to do really. Like if you really want to move industries, then of course I would say full time is a very very easy way
The
of
best way,
looking at it.
actually.
Yeah, the best way to be honest. uh, and of course then again your probably ambitions cannot be outlandish. Like if you've been doing hardcore IT related work, or you've been a developer, or you've been into something pertaining more on the technology side, and if you want to make an extreme jump into hedge funds or the trading floor, that's going to be good amount of struggle. So if you're talking about a 2 year MBA full time, then add another 6 months to it till you find that right fit into the industry.
Correct.
And that also you're not sure. These are all assuming all will end well.
Everything
So that,
falls into place at the right time and the right
yeah, at
place.
the right time, which we don't know. So that's one thing you have to look at as to what do you really want to do. So I think if you're like going for some extreme, like, but if you want to graduate, let's say if you are doing if you are in technology, you want to graduate onto and you're doing IT consulting, let's say if you are in any of the normal like firms like Cognizant, Wipro, or TCS, or any of that, and you've done a little bit of IT consulting, and then you want to progressively move over to I would say strategic consulting, very much possible with a tech
Yes.
background, because you could still hold a very convincing business case for the Deloittes and the KPMGs of the world, if not the McKinseys at least, that you pretty much are ready with your consulting background and technology. Now that you got the academic know-how of the business strategies that are in place for different industries, you could be a good fit, and you bring a very good combination of both technology and business at the same time. So I guess, yeah. So these are just few
Right.
examples, but you will have to really and have somebody who's a good critic of your career, probably your parents, your friends, who can tell you on your face. Like it's a little because it's
That
tough,
that's
but it is like an injection.
that's
It's just
something
one.
that is most important. Yes. It's very easy to be carried away.
Yeah, it's just one prick like an injection. It just hurts for a few seconds, but then it does long term good, I guess. So, yeah.
Correct, correct. Right. So, Harminder, you had options. In just a moment, please. So we have Dishita who's asking about the MIM program. So Dishita, the MIM programs are the master's programs. They are not really the MBA program. So these are masters in management, which you can pursue while. So most of the colleges allow you to apply for an MIM program if you have 0 to 2 years of work experience. So if you are a fresher and you are planning to build your career as internationally, an MIM is a good option for you to go with, because most of the MBA programs will require you to have around at least 2 to 3 years of work experience by the time you apply to them. So if you want something, an international exposure, international career just right away, right after your graduation, then MIM program is the best way to go ahead with that. And after that, you build your career and you see and you plan, and that is where probably an MBA could fit in. And GS is asking, as an entrepreneur from India with 4 years of experience, including 2 years in corporate, what are the chances of getting into a good business school? So GS, the chances are good both internationally as well as in India. Depends on what exactly is your there are two, three things over here. One is the academic part. That means your academic grades, the qualifications that you have graduated from, and your GMAT or your GRE score, which with respect to the full-time programs. Because you have only 4 years of experience, you will not be eligible for the executive MBA programs. And then your aspirations. Once you have sorted out the GMAT and the academics part, then you need to look at your aspirations, your goals, and the choice of schools. So I think just hang on to this discussion that we have right now coming up, and I think you'll have a good amount of insight into how to select a business school with respect to your background. And Harminder, thank you for joining us once again. So please share with us, what motivated you to pursue an international MBA program, and how did you go about selecting the programs that you wanted to apply to?
Right. So I'll keep it real with you guys. I want to maximize my probability of getting into an MBA program. So applying to the top three programs in India was not going to be enough, um, which is why I went abroad. I didn't have an issue with the location that I wanted to work in. I just wanted to get that education from a premier institute, which is why I ended up going to international MBA programs. And how did I go about selecting my programs was trying to understand which school will get me to best to my post MBA goal. So I was debating between going into tech product management and consulting. I tried to look for schools that provided me a good mixture of post MBA placements about of going into such schools. So I just chose those particular subset of schools, and I went ahead and applied for them. That was my process. I did not have an. There were a few programs that I applied to, which had sort of a emotional backing. Like I applied to Columbia, and I knew it's not known for PM, or it's not known for consulting as such, known more for finance. But I just went ahead and applied for it. I didn't get in, but yeah, that's there. So that was mainly my thought process. Was very clean. I just needed to get into a good program. That's about it.
Right. And Saket, next is yours. So, what motivated you for an international MBA program? And did you really go about, in a US versus a Canada MBA? Were there specific things that you looked into?
Yeah. So, to put it very simply, I honestly wanted to get an international experience when it comes to like, my education. I think the kind of education that you get abroad versus what you get in India is quite different. And secondly, you get to be in a class where there are people from everywhere. So I believe that was my major motivation to go international. And as far as the MBA is concerned, I feel I really wanted to explore more. I did not want to stick to like the job that I'm currently doing and the industry that I'm currently in. And yeah, so that is why I wanted to go for an MBA. But talking about Canada versus US versus other countries, so I had a pretty clear picture in my mind that I would want to go to Canada. The sole reason is I feel it was like the major thing was like a visa issue, or like something that allows me to be mentally a little more relaxed when it comes to looking for jobs or maybe settling down in the future in that country. And yeah, so my major motivation was Canada itself. I did not want to really apply to a lot of US schools, so I kept
Yes.
it pretty clear that way. So I applied to Schulich, I applied to UBC, and I applied to Rotman. And Rotman and Schulich is what I got into. I did not get the UBC did not even start the process until very
Yes.
late.
So,
So
so you got the interview invite just, I think, the week before. So the
yeah, a
process
couple of
was
weeks
so
back.
slow, and you had already accepted the invite from them, from
Correct, correct.
Rotman. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much about it. I was aiming for Canada itself.
Great. Dishita has a question that she says that does internship, is it counted as work experience? Are there any perks of having work experience for MIM? I would have 2 years of experience by September 23. Dishita, when you are applying to in the MIM programs, you have to be very specific as to the program that you are applying to. So there will be programs which will accept up till 2 years of experience, and there will be programs which will accept up till 5 years of experience. So there are a few programs in Canada which do that for the MIM programs, MIM offering that they have. So it is best to look into what exactly the programs that you want to look into. MIM, you can pursue across the world. There are a lot of options available, but look into the very specifics of the career with respect to the career goals that you have. And is internship counted as work experience? Work experience with respect to all the international as well as Indian programs is counted as your experience post your completion of your graduation. So the moment you have completed your undergraduate education and received your degree, that is when the countdown for your work experience starts. So try and look at it in that way. I think this will be sorted out. Maneshwar, if someone is having years of experience right at the MBA level, EMBA level, how does one show that you're applying for an MBA in an interview or an application? So, Maneshwar, over here, the challenge for you is to justify why you need an MBA and why you don't want an EMBA. EMBA is for those people who are actually employed at that place of the program and they're looking at growing within the same field. So EMBA really helps you grow within the same field, have a lot of visibility and build connections within the same field of work that you are. If you are looking at a full-time MBA program, then what you need to specify is the transition and why this transition and how you are prepared for the transition that you're looking at for from the MBA program. So if you're looking at a transition with respect to your function or your industry, the full-time MBA program is most appropriate. If you're looking to grow within your industry, of course, at a different function and a leadership level, then you should go in for the EMBA program. So that is the basic differentiation that you can keep in mind. And Harshit has a question. Are you okay to, if you could please share your GMAT score? So guys, if you are okay with doing that, please do that. Otherwise, it's fine. And what is the impact factor of a good versus excellent GMAT score? So Harshit, from my experience, let me, put in my thoughts on this. The impact of a good versus an excellent GMAT score with respect to the school average is that you qualify for a lot more benefits from the schools, and so you get the benefits of a scholarship, you get the benefits of additional programs if you want to join to. So that is what the GMAT score talks about. It talks about your capability as an international student with respect to the rest of the pool. So you can very well judge yourself. So first of all, as an international student, be sure that you need to put yourself at least 2 or 3 points above the school average. And then if you are above, much more above that, that is where that real difference of getting a scholarship or getting the extra benefits from the schools and happens with respect to a good versus excellent GMAT score. Ashish has a question which I think, guys, you would like to take up. That is, how does one shortlist a school on the basis of post MBA goals? So, Abhijit, I think let's start with you on this. And first of all, because your background is so unique, you are coming from the oil and gas sector, and this is something that is not very well represented in the the dominant MBA applicant pool, which is the technology sector. So, please go ahead and tell us how you went about shortlisting the school and what motivated you to pursue an international MBA program?
So for me, no, I was very sure about what I want post MBA. Like I really want to do continue with my supply chain experience, what I have. because I have been working for the past 6 years in supply chain operation. So while shortlisting my MBA college, I was mainly looking into trying to come up with the top MBA school in the supply chain operation domain. So SMEAL was considered as one of the best, and I applied to other program as well. But unfortunately, I was not able to get into the other programs. So that was the criteria which I have been used for selecting my international MBA programs. And then what else, Shruti?
So the next question was that, on what basis would you shortlist the programs, on the post
Yeah.
MBA goals? So how
So
do you exactly go
yeah, okay.
about selecting those programs?
So no, while I was going through the brochures of various MBA programs, so I could see almost all the colleges had very similar companies coming and taking people from the schools. But when I interacted with the students who are studying over there, the kind of roles which will be extended to international students actually varies. If you see, for example, if you take the case of SMEAL, like there are many oil companies like Shell, Chevron, and Exxon Mobil coming to SMEAL, but the kind of international opportunity which is given to the international students is very less. So Chevron is not giving any full-time offer. This was one criteria which I have used. So I tried to interact with students who are actually studying in the MBA program, and also like as per my post MBA goal, I try to interact with the students and try to understand which all companies they are taking in supply chain domain. So for me, SMEAL actually has a good network in the supply chain domain and also had a good reputation in the supply chain industry front. So that's how I chose the MBA.
Great. And I remember, when we were on the shortlisting of the programs for specifically for your profile, it was very, very specific. We looked into the oil and gas sector hiring, and we had a
Yeah.
different list of programs, and it was not the usual, the Wharton or the INSEAD or the, the top 20 in that case. It was a
Yes.
very specific niche range of, who could give you the best opportunity possible. And Vaibhav, I think that applied in your case as well. So please share your insights on this. How did you shortlist the school and what motivated you for an international MBA program?
Sure. So, as I said, I've been working with healthcare analytics for past 5 years, and throughout this process, I've realized that in consulting environment, you have two kinds of jobs. One is the grit work, and one is the front end job. So, grit work is basically where you have the data, you clean it, prepare it, present some insights, and at the end of the day, someone at the front office will go out at the client side and present the information. So I wanted to be in the shoes of someone who actually does that, who actually interacts with the stakeholders, manage those relationships, and at the end of the day brings in the business as well. And that is where I realized that an MBA, specifically from one of the top B schools in the world, will actually help me do that. And that is where I started realizing like which school I should actually go forward with. So I had a very pretty clear career understanding, like what I want to do in next 10 years. And that is where I realized if it's going to be consulting, I need to pick schools which actually have a strong foothold in those areas. So being the analyst, I basically pulled out the list of top 25 B schools from GMAT Club. I picked their averages, I picked their salaries and career placements, international recruitment, and everything. I tried to analyze where do I fit in, which schools fit in with my post career aspirations. And in that case, I think two or three resources actually, in fact, helped me out. First one was the career reports of the B schools. So they have like exemplary reports whereby they show actually what kind of recruitment happens, which companies actually go on and recruit, which companies actually have multiple offers for internationals and so on. So I think that was a really helpful resource for me, which I analyzed pretty heavily on. Second was the students. The current year students are really helpful if you go out and reach out to them, create those meaningful dialogues whereby you try to understand what their experience has been in their B school programs. I think they will be really forthright with it. They will share their experiences. They will help you understand where you might find a cultural fit and where you might not find a cultural fit. And lastly, I think my interactions with you, Shruti, have been helpful in that area. We have gone through multiple brainstorming sessions whereby we both try to understand what might be a good fit and what might not be a good fit. And I still remember the discussion we had around Darden. We were like, okay, is it going to fit in? Is it? So I did not have a very exemplary standardized test score. So that was also a huge consideration for me, like whether I should actually apply to one of the top 15 B schools in US or not. And that is where I decided, okay, I have to take a moonshot and maybe Darden it should be. So I did take that moonshot, and I think did landed it up. So yeah, I think these resources helped me figure out which school I should apply to, and that was my motivation for it.
So the moonshot it was supposed to be for you, you know. You interviewed everywhere, but you landed at the moonshot. That's it.
Exactly. I mean, that was like a pretty different story from what others will tell you. They will say that, yeah, we landed up on our target or on our safety schools. But for me, it was the moonshot school, which I actually landed up on. So, yeah.
Great. So guys, you must, you know, dream and start working towards it. Let's see what your moonshot is and where you land up. So Shilu has a question. Venki, you mentioned that, you know, there's a good chance for an Indian male IT consultant plus manufacturing background, totaling 6+ years of work experience to move to strategy consulting. So do you have any suggestions for him? And Sheila, what I would like to add over here is that, you know, are you looking at an MBA or an executive MBA program? So if you're looking at an MBA program, I think 6+ is slightly vague. You need to be very specific as to what programs you are targeting. Is it a full-time program? Then you need to look at the school averages. And the best way to go about, you know, deciding whether you have a good chance or not is to discuss with the school themselves. They are very open and they do give you a very candid feedback as to, you know, how your profile fits with the specific school. So once you shortlist a list of schools for yourself, it is best to go ahead and you know, talk to them, have a dialogue with them, and see whether, you know, your aspirations are fulfilled by the school. Plus, from their response, you'll be able to know whether you know, they see you as a good fit or not. So Pancham Banerjee has joined us. He says he's asking, as an Indian applicant, what should be a good target GRE score for colleges like NYU, Duke, Darden, and Cornell? So I think Vaibhav and Harvinder, you are the best people to tell us about the target GRE scores. So Harvinder, in case you would like to go first on this.
So try upwards of 330. Don't go by averages that the school has. I know it's a difficult score to get, but it's not impossible. If you really want to be safe with your GRE score, not have it as a pain point at all in your application, minimum 330. It's non-negotiable. Um, that's my take on it.
I absolutely agree with that. I may have been an outlier in that case with someone who was an Indian engineering male and still did not have a 330 plus GRE and still landed up in one B school, which is like top 15. So yeah, try to certainly aim for 330 plus GRE score. Throughout my applications, I've realized that score is an important part of your holistic application evaluation. But at the same time, your other aspects of profile, the impact areas, the areas where you have actually played a crucial role will also be important. So try to be cognizant of the fact that you have it all balanced. But yeah, being an Indian engineering male, you need to ensure that you have a score at the higher end of the entire split.
I also want to
Right.
add one more thing to
Yes.
that. Yes, it's a holistic application review process. But if you're someone like me who has a very generic work then your standardized scores are going to be your saving grace. Otherwise, if you have like a unique background, see, there are hundreds of Indian software engineers that apply, right? You can use a standardized score to put yourself above the baseline or the average. That was my strategy. But if you have a unique work like WebOf does, then go ahead by all means. You can also land in your dream school despite not touching 330.
And guys, let me also tell you that Weber has authored a book, and he also has a lot of extracurriculars to talk about. So he has a you know, a whole lot of package coming into the school when he's going in. So, you know, this actually brings us to the next element of our discussion, which is about the application process. So there is one set of applicants which is the so-called you know, these software engineers and the standard profiles which are going in, like Harvinder just mentioned, and another you know, set of profiles which do add that diversity. So how do you bring that balance between diversity and the standard profile, and how much important is it? You know, can you just walk us through your application process, and how did you make your application stand out? So Saket, in case you could you know, go first on this.
Sure, sure. So, in terms of what sort of makes my profile stand out, or maybe something that was like a highlight of sorts. So I was a part of a program in my current firm wherein I was a part of a rotational sort of a thing. So I worked in, say, around 4 teams in the last 3 years, and all of those 4 teams had different kind of projects that I was working in, different environments, different products, and everything was entirely different. So I got a taste and experience of a lot of things in that same domain, right? So I think that is something that not a lot of us get a chance to do, at least in the initial years of our working. So I think that really helped me put out a picture which was really nice. And secondly, there was a crisis sort of a thing wherein the latest team that I worked in, uh, a couple of very experienced folks left the team. So there were 3 people who started the team, and when those 2 people left, I sort of had this opportunity to lead the team, and now that particular team has more than 15 people. So I believe, as you might call it luck, or you might call it anything else, but then I had that sort of an experience which I feel helped my profile get a really really rounded shape, and add to that the experience of working in a lot of different teams helped me out. And talking about the application process, I think to hash everything out and to put it and articulate it in a way which helps you put your best foot forward, I think Shruti ma'am really helped with that. So I think we've worked a lot on our profile that way.
Yeah, you actually do a lot of things when you're working. You need to be able to spell those out and find the value in terms of what adds value to your application. So when you are doing it in the daily course of things, you do feel that, okay, this is nothing great. Everybody else is doing it. But actually, there are a lot of things that you add value to, and you need to recognize it at the right point in time so that you can add it to your application. And similar to, just to this question is Saranya's question. He has a CGP of 8.8 in his BTech, and he did 2 industrial trainings from IIT and a research internship at IIT Kharagpur. But he says that he doesn't have any extracurriculars like the awards or sports, etc. So, what are my chances for top B schools? So, I think half the panel over here can talk about what is a good chance for a top B school. First, target the scores, like Harvinder said. Be focused on getting a top score. If you do that, then half of your problem is solved, and then work on your story. So please, guys, go ahead and add to it, in case you have any additional inputs on this question.
So I would say that don't worry about not having awards. I didn't have a single award, and I still got some admits. So the thing is, what you may think is not valuable is not how the B school looks at it. Okay, so whatever experience you have, try to show that that was the best thing that anyone in the world can do. It's about positioning yourself really well. Okay, so that you need to sit, think about what exactly is it that you learned, what was the contribution that you did, and then write it in an intelligent fashion. So now that is contextual, but write it to the best capacity to the so the B school knows that whatever you bring is valuable to their class. And I didn't have anything in sports. When it comes to awards, I had a scholarship in my undergrad, with hundreds of others did in SRM. Okay, that wasn't a big deal, but then I made it look like that was like really good, getting a scholarship and all that. So it's just about how you write. And what are your chances for top three schools? No one can give you a percentage. I know people who had a 770 and got rejected from Wharton, had amazing work ex. So it's about just putting in the application and just hoping for the best that it just works out.
Right. And Harvinder, if you would like to continue on the application process, and how did you make your application stand out?
So my application process was being a headless chicken. Shruti knows. I contacted her in end of July, and I was an R1 applicant. So I had 1 month to do everything. And I think we started our process in second week of August. So 3 weeks is all it did to put in my application. My process was that First, I was very clear on my Indian B school. So I was very clear that I want to apply to ISB and everything. Foreign B schools was up in the air. Like I hadn't decided it till then. So what we did, we sat down, wrote my entire life story, everything. Even if I've traveled somewhere, we wrote that down. Any failures I had, everything. You pick up themes from that. Once you have themes in place, try to pick up unique themes from your profile. What I tried to pick up from my profile was academics. Thankfully, I had good academics. I come from a military family. I tried to pick up the fact that I can fit into diverse environments really fast, etc., etc. So, and then I tried to pick up the fact that I'm from Oracle, and it's an up and coming player in cloud, and I would like to. I have had a lot of experience in cloud because it's up and coming. You get more responsibilities. Try to put it that way, and then said that I'll go back and join Oracle post my MBA. So you try to show yourself as a very sorted person. So that was my um, outline for an application, and then you just put in your themes, and then you connect it using English and make your essay sound coherent. Then what did I do to make my application stand out? These themes that I picked up from my application were what I used to make my application stand out. Not everyone will have, so you are a unique person. Not everyone is going to have a combination of all the achievements that you have. There will be someone who's good at academics, but not the other two or three themes that you pick out. So once you have this unique set of points, you try to relate it with what the school wants, and you try to position yourself someone who brings in more value. So basically try to say that the school needs you more than you need them, kind of attitude. So that is how I went about my application. I did not put in a lot of time into writing. I think 10 days was max that I spent on my essays for all the schools, and then I just applied for it. So don't think about it much, and make sure you don't have typos. I had typos in my applications. Don't do all of that. And that was my even in my NCR application, I had three typos. When I read back my application, I was like, oh my god, what have I done? I'm gonna get rejected on this basis. So that was everything.
No, but finally, this is a very, insightful input actually, that it is not about the best words or the best vocabulary that you use. It is the time that you input into, getting the best stories out of your experience, right? So that is what makes a good application, not the typos or the not having the typos and having the best vocab going in. So Abhijit, and Weber, your thoughts on the application process. And I think Venki, we are connected with him as well, so we'll come to him next. So
Sure, I
Abhijit,
can take this.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Weber, please go ahead.
So, application process. So, as I've said, I mean, I totally agree with all the panelists. Stories matter. You cannot neglect the fact that stories are what, at the end of the day, your application admissions officer will be going through, and you need to hook them in. You need to make sure that they find your stories inspiring. They find your stories somewhat they can actually take back when they, close your application folder, and they actually think about it, that yeah, okay, this was impactful for me, or this is how they actually stood out from the crowd. Because when you come from an overrepresented background, you need to have something which you can actually which can actually help you highlight yourself. It can either be your standardized test scores, which are really important. It can be some of your co-curricular activities. It can be something else. So I knew that since I didn't have the best scores, I need to highlight other things in my profile. I was heavily invested in a lot of volunteering opportunities within Novartis. We have a very huge CSR initiative at Novartis, and as a part of it, I actually contributed to virtual mentoring opportunities. I took up a project with Save the Children Foundation, and there was another project whereby I actually mentored final year undergrad students in the last 1 year. Apart from that, throughout my college also I was really outgoing, so I used to participate in a lot of model events, and that actually stood out for me as well. So I think these are the factors which you can actually pull into. How did you try to go into an opportunity and create an impact which wasn't already existing there? So that is what I did. I sat down, I picked out those stories, I tried to figure out what kind of impact did I bring into those specific projects, be it professional project, be it personal projects, and then I started drafting out my stories. So some schools emphasize more upon diversity factors, some schools emphasize more upon your personal journeys, some may emphasize more upon your professional impact. So you need to customize your stories, but at the end of the day, those stories will remain same, and you can actually try to mold it into the way you answer the questions for each school. And yeah, that is what I did. I think it went out really well. It was a mind-boggling process because we as Indians are not really customized to, create stories, draft our journey, or talk even about ourselves in general. And I think that was one huge takeaway for me out of this entire process.
Right. And Abhijit, what is your take on drafting your
Yeah,
applications?
I completely agree with Viber. Yeah, whatever he said really made a lot of sense to me, because I was someone, no, who was started working in a technical company, or particularly in an oil and gas company, for 5 years. So whatever experience I have shared with Shruti was too much technical. So I know, I remember, talking to her in the initial days, where whatever I say, she used to say it was very boring. So Shruti has actually helped me to, add more emotions and more clarity to the experience, whatever I had. So as Harminder already said, like whatever we feel as important will not be that important to the panel. So since Shruti had a lot of experience in the process, she has, helped. I've shared whatever experience I had, and she has helped me to pick out the right things and made my stories more captivating and more interesting to hear. And this will be actually helpful for the interview as well. And one other thing, like in the case of GRE scores and all, no, you should be very mindful that the average GRE score, which is visible in most of the MBA program, you cannot trust it. Like for Indians, you have to be, if you are trying to, aim to that top 10 programs or 30-20 programs, you have to have that 330 plus. So yeah, that's it.
Right. Thank you. And Venki, would you like to share about the application process, especially with your experience with the EMBA applications?
Uh, yeah, I guess the crux at the bottom, or the bottom line, remains the same. They are it's a trade off that they're looking for in terms of what their priority is. Like, is it only diversity? Is it some specificity on certain levels, or they want to break this homogeneous crowd build up? Like, for them, anyone coming from IT consulting would be IT anyways. Although I have not done any hardcore IT work for the last couple of years. I mean, I've done a lot of strategic consulting on the IT side, but not really a lot of work. So for you to really stand out there, I guess, of course, like if you look at the advent of communication from evolutionary days, we all have grown up on stories. So that definitely plays a very important role. That's one. Second thing, if you don't have any co-curricular activities or anything extra, you can definitely do volunteering services and highlight that. These are like, most of the companies will have some or the other events where you could participate. You will get a certificate if you spend your time and do some work there. So that could be highlighted. Although it might add for a couple of percentage, but it still shows some kind of extra work. So these are small things you can keep in mind. And also, I would say, if not anything, all of us are going, applying for an MBA with the intention to study. So I think reading can be a good habit to form. And I would say, if you have a future goal for a good B school, please start reading The Economist. So you should probably actually, instead of you trying to say that I have XYZ things, you want to make them curious to ask more. So if you throw out a statement during an interview where they're talking about geopolitics, you should say probably the high oil prices, the money that we are paying for it, Adolf Hitler is the cause for it, and prove it by backing. Actually, I can. I mean, anyone can, if you just probably understand the events of history, the way they played out. You could actually make this statement and prove it back. You can literally connect the dots backwards. And these are very similar questions that McKinsey and BCG also asks, right? I think Shruti would agree that on a general scheme of things, everything in nature is balanced. There's another question that probably one of the, like, these consulting firms will probably put you in a fix. So if you can, instead of looking at it as a question, if you could actually read well on certain events, I would say, I think Economist is something I highly recommend to people. Uh, and and also, here's the spoiler part also. Shruti, I think I told you this. So a lot of you would have heard about the book Fountainhead, right? Like, very well known Ayn Rand. Some of you might not. Nothing wrong in that. So if you've not heard it, hey, guess what? Join the bandwagon of my admissions director at Wharton also doesn't know about it. So it's a very, very well known
Yes.
book. Trust me. I'm just telling you, be confident by the means of it. Like me and Shruti were surprised talking to each other. Fountainhead nahi pada? Ye sahi mein director hai? Achha. So something, that sort. So don't just kill yourself over some wrong answers. Like I think
Yeah.
a lot of them, and a lot of the consulting guys who were there are a lot of questions on consulting because it's lucrative in a lot of ways, especially when you're young. So I would say, from a consulting standpoint, there are no right answers. Yeah, as far
Correct.
as
You
you're not
always have to
rambling,
work your way out. Yes.
yeah. If you're not rambling, you will get through. If you have a structure, take 2 minutes. If you prepare a structure for your solution to whatever problem they throw at you, like it might be something from manufacturing which you have no idea about, but if you give them a structured way to approach the problem, you won the battle 80% there.
Great. So this discussion that we are having today, this has a bandwidth of 3 years, 3.5 years of work experience till 13 years of work experience. So that's how you look at the world from 10 years down the line or 8 years down the line from where you are today. And what makes sense over here is that you need to be open to the unknown situations, and you need to be since it is an MBA or an EMBA application, so business is all around, your economics is all around, so be well aware, and they do expect that from you when you are walking into a top B school or an interview on that front. So there is one very interesting question Milan has. He says that is it suitable or worthwhile for a candidate having 8 years of work experience in an oil refinery to apply for 2 years program? So this is almost a question that we had discussed quite a few times, Abhijit, right? For the oil refinery background and going into a 2 years program. Your program at SMEAL has just converted to this is the first year that they're going to have a 1 year program, and you are already, you know, considering more programs to add to that bandwidth. So, it's a good insight that you will have to share over here.
So I would say it in refinery, it all depend on what you're doing. So in refinery, there are so many roles, and if you are into a particular segment like supply chain or refining process or whatever it be, you have a chance of doing in 2 year program. But what I have been doing is like I will be doing completing my 1 year MBA in SMEAL, and in the second year I'll be looking at doing a master's in a different college, particularly in the supply chain domain. So that is the option which I was considering. And I would say a person who has 8 years of experience in oil refinery, you have a unique background, and whatever experience you will be sharing in the interview panel and through your essays will be very interesting for the interview panel. They will be eager to hear your stories. So I would say like you have a good chance.
Yes, and well, what I would like to add over here is that it is not the end of the world. 2 year programs are very quickly changing to 1 year programs, and you can look at your 2 years tenure for an international education in terms of just stacking it up with a 1 year MBA plus a 1 year specialization. So that really positions you for perhaps a more strategic career growth. So try and look at your career growth in that way as well. Not only the MBA program, try and see if you can stack it up with a more specific specialization, which will help you add more value to the recruiters in the long term. So this is also one perspective that you can take away from here. So coming to the round one versus round two application. So what is a good time to apply? Uh, so Saket, would you like to go ahead on this, or Harvinder, in case you would like to start on what is did you feel any difference on the in terms of the round one versus round two applications? Did you rush in with your applications so that you could just make it to the round one deadlines for some specific reasons? Please do share your insights.
Right. So I was told that there's no difference between round one and round two, but I am a skeptical person. I did not want to risk it. I thought, "Ki, it's okay. There's nothing I can add to my application more than what I've done in the past. I have 3 weeks. I'm going to do my best and submit it in round one. Unless you feel that your application is really underbaked or you have some interesting project that is coming up in the time between round one and round two, which you feel can add a lot of value, or perhaps a promotion that is coming up. If not, then if you can make it to round one, good enough, you stand the best chance, because round one offers is has the most likelihood of giving you a scholarship also. And a lot of times for a lot of schools, if you're an early applicant, you get a guaranteed interview invite. So I had that for tuck, for example. I think Darden also has it. I did not opt for it, but there is a provision, I guess, in Darden. Correct me if I'm wrong, Weber. And even Fuqua has it. So you can make use of those. See, if you get an interview invite, you're almost there, right? Just after the interview, you might get your results. So try to take advantage of that. Otherwise, statistically, it is said that there's no difference between round one and round two. So that's your call.
Yes, but you do have a benefit. When the schools do specify that they have, do have that open window of interviews, you definitely have that advantage in the round one rather than the round two. So, Weber, in case you would, like to add on the round one versus round two, what is a good time to apply? I think you applied to a few schools in round one and a few schools in round two as well. So you have the whole spectrum of experience.
Certainly. So I think it definitely makes sense. If you look at it logistically, it absolutely makes sense to apply into round one. Why? Because it's the beginning of the process. Some schools have an early admit process, others do not. Like Darden and Duke do have an early admit process whereby you can actually apply, get a guaranteed interview, and actually go forward with the entire application before even it begins for other schools, right? But for other schools, applying in round one actually makes sense because they have their entire scholarship funds available, and you have the maximum chance of getting a foot in and at the same time getting some money and value out of the entire program. So that is why I would recommend round one, unless it's absolutely essential. You feel that you actually want to take up another shot at the standardized test, or something urgent has come up and you are not able to fulfill the timelines which have been shared to you by the business school. You should definitely try to avoid going for later rounds. If not, then round two is still fine. Round three and four becomes a lot more difficult for Indian students from logistical perspective as well as from the entire application perspective as well, because it gets extremely competitive in nature. So yeah,
Yes.
round one it is.
Great. And Saket, I think the Ankur has a question which you would be able to add value to, and I will also pitch in. So he has 8 years of experience in the oil sector and from IIT Roorkee, has a BTech from IIT Roorkee. He's asking about whether it is a good chance, he has a good chance for a Canadian MBA university with a GMAT of 730. So Ankur, my take over here is that, with respect to your work experience being 8 years, it is good if you can, just directly connect with the universities because they are offering 2 year programs, connect with the universities with respect to the confidence that they have in your application as an applicant. With respect to the GMAT and the chances at the Canadian MBA universities, irrespective of your years of experience, I think Saket will be able to add value. He has applied to a lot of schools.
Yeah. So as you said, I think the GMAT score is pretty good in terms of where he's targeting to apply. And secondly, the work experience also of 8 years is quite a lot. And plus, coming from a very unique background, that adds a lot of advantage to his profile. And secondly, I think if there are a lot of good MBA schools like Ivy and Queens, they have 1 year programs itself, and they can be much more beneficial if you want to go for a 1 year program. Apart from that, definitely the regular ones, the top B schools, there are Rotman, Schulich, UBC, and all of those. They can also be considered. But I think this is a very good profile with a lot, like a very good GMAT score as well. So I think it's going to be a very safe bet.
Great. So, Ankur, to sum it up, your GMAT is definitely a plus, but 8 years of experience is slightly higher in terms of what the Canadian universities look for. So, it is best to connect with the universities directly and see, what they have to add in terms of giving you the specific green signal on this. And what advice would you give to the prospective applicants considering international MBA program, especially from the, so let's take up the technology sector first. So we have Venki, Harminder, and Saket, and all, Webhub connecting with us from the technology sector. So what is it that you would suggest in terms of advice for the prospective applicants? Saket, in case you would like to go first on this.
I think again this is a very overrepresented pool, and it will be very difficult for us Indians to, in any case, stand out of the crowd. So I think we've already discussed at length what exactly is it that we've been doing in terms of looking at our profile, how to build it in a certain way to showcase whatever we want to. And I think secondly, if there is a specific industry that we are targeting after doing an MBA, be it product management or be it technology consulting or something like that, I think that really helps, like being coming from a technology background really helps to go and achieve those targets. And if you have a certain technical expertise, that will definitely add value to solving a technology consulting case, technology consulting project, and stuff like that. But in any case, even if you want to pivot, I think engineers, as we all know, can fit in mostly anyway. So I think we should be good.
Right. And guys, I'll just take a moment of a break over here. So please, subscribe to the channel and like the video so that a lot of other people can also access these inputs. And I would really, appeal to you to subscribe to the channel for future inputs from admins. So yes, Abhijit and so Weber, in case you would like to go on this, advice for the prospective applicants.
I think it's pretty straightforward. Who have been watching this video from the very beginning, take your moonshot. I know things might look bleak from Indian perspective because we are almost 1 in every 5 people on this globe. So we may not stand out for a diversity factor unless you are an entrepreneur or working social impact initiative, something like that. But still consider taking one moonshot, which is not too unrealistic, but it is still a dream shot for you. And I think that's what I did, and it worked out for me. Try to craft your stories and try to get a head start as soon as possible. um, it may work out well for you because you may have more time to consider what your stories are and what you actually want to write about in your MBA applications. And it needs a lot of introspection while you are writing your stories. So do take some time and try to think out what you want to highlight in your applications. So that's 2 points from my end.
Great. And
Yeah.
Abhijit, your thoughts on this, please.
So I would say oil and gas. If you are trying to have a career in oil and gas, uh, one thing is that oil and gas employees are candidates are comparatively less when compared to other backgrounds like technology and all. But one interesting fact here we have to consider is in every class. If you see the class strength and class diversity things and all, the number of people from oil and gas is very less. Like every class will have 1 or 2 people. So you have to be mindful of this fact and try to apply in the round one because they will not entertain like many oil people from the oil and gas background as well. And the job opportunities post MBA is also very limited when it comes to the international students, because most of the MBA, the most of the companies which I have been looking for, like ExxonMobil, then Chevron and all, no, they're not taking so many international students into the company because of the visa reasons and all. So you always have a plan B. If you are very passionate about oil and gas, you try it, network with so many people, try to network with people before entering the program through LinkedIn and all, and also have a plan B. So that's the advice I would give.
Right. And Venki, you were about to say something, please do.
Yeah, so specifically for oil and gas, like I think couple of minutes back, there was somebody who asked a question about moving to Canada with a 730 score. I would
Yes.
look at it a little holistically, and I would probably apply to universities in Alberta, which is like the hotbed in Canada for oil and gas
Yes.
production to everything. In fact, but it doesn't make any business sense because some of those that oil is embedded into it's mixed with the sand and soil. Probably the guy who's working in oil and gas would know it. So the technology requires a huge amount of thrust to remove the oil out, and for that we actually export that oil from Canada to US and buy back at a higher rate our own oil from the US. So, so this is just, I'm telling why I'm giving you this example is like, even though some places like really happening in terms of oil and gas, it's not necessary that you could not highlight any of the drawbacks that the industry has and probably offer a solution if that kind of I mean, these are all tips for the interview. Like when you have for an MBA program, you could actually highlight this. um, as an issue with some solution, which would probably entail that you've done enough background work on the place. And the other thing I would recommend is to probably apply to the place where you have the industry set up. Like if you're planning for moving to the US, I would say Houston is a good place where you have Exxon to Enron, all the big names are there, and Houston has been a hotbed for all these companies. So it could be place specific also. That makes you get you in. I mean, that gives you that leverage of local network. So
Yes.
even the students who are there would know a lot of people. So that probably would click better. And yeah, I mean, from technology, I guess you can actually there are a lot of ways how you can probably make it more relatable, because whenever you say you're from technology, right, probably you should have a in-depth knowledge of how it is impacting things to the end user. If you are able to give that picture, your technology can probably be like more of a support staff in the back, which you can underplay just to ensure that they get the message right, that was my work is enabling so many people to do XYZ things, which is in turn leading to so much of cost savings or revenue. As far as you're able to justify that in the story, I think there is always a good catch which will hold their attention. And I think, yeah, that's pretty much about it, because although we assume that they're very analytical in our profiles, that might be just a part of the process. But the person who speaks to you after reviewing your profile is still going to take an emotional decision, because we all are emotional beings, and a lot of our decisions in our, even the biggest decisions of life, sometimes are very emotional. We use
I totally
logic to
agree.
rationalize this later, saying I did this so and so because of XYZ reason. That's not the underlying reason. Your right brain had taken over, and your left brain just backed it up with some logic so that you feel good. Okay, I didn't close my eyes. And so that's how a lot of people work in this. So as far as your stories go, right, your stories capture their attention, and that's how marketing is done in today's era, right? Like you click, it's click through rate to everything, right? Like that's how Google makes the money. Some of the things that you find attractive that catch your attention. So as far as you could throw out some stories like that, and then have the background work to explain it better, and underplay what is not required. As far as, like, for my case, in my case, I was told, like, before, like, me and Shruti work, I was told by one of the consultants here in the US that it'll be very difficult, because first of all, you're an Indian, second, you have like half technology and half business background, so there are a lot of them. So how will you really differentiate? And that too, you're applying in the second round. So I think you will have to come up with certain stories. Like there was another essay, I think Shruti would know about, a global experience thing
Diversity
where
experience.
they are diversity related essay. And trust me, that was my work in Toronto, which was very, very disturbing project. But if you read the essay, it will look like um, I was like, the alpha and omega of the project at that point. And not that I lied, I did those things. But at the same time, like when I look back in retrospect, I said, like, this kind of great story I could have never come up had I not gone through what I did at that point in time. So you never know. I mean, because why I'm saying this is, a lot of your bad experiences at work, you would tend to ignore and filter out, saying, oh, this is not even worth talking about. All you might turn that to be like a blockbuster at that point in time. So just be open to both the sides. I would say, like, good and bad stories. Your bad stories probably are going to be your saviors in a lot of ways at this point in
Yes,
time, because
true.
at least as far as European and American B schools, they don't look down upon these bad experiences as bad. Like, as far as you evolved from there, they
And
really
these are
appreciate you
all
being honest
learning
about it.
experiences. Yes.
Yeah.
These are all experiences where you learn the maximum, the bad experiences are the best experiences. So Ashish is asking about how can I connect with all the panel members? You could not find them on LinkedIn. So Ashish, you could connect with GoalISB on LinkedIn and reach out to me and I can actually connect you with all of them. I think that will sort it out for you. So Harvinder, what would be your advice to the prospective applicants considering an international MBA program?
I can only speak for technology. What I would recommend is, first of all, understand that the work that you're doing is most likely not unique. Okay, I don't mean to talk less about your work, but that is the reality. So what you need to do is try to show something, like Venki said, try to show the impact that your work had. Good, I wrote a Java program, but what does that Java program impact the end user, and how does it, what are the metrics essentially that you bring in for your company? Try to highlight that to show that, yeah, my impact is really great. And then also try to have some kind of extracurricular, extracurriculars need like some kind of programs outside your JD. So for example, at Oracle, I'm part of their DNI initiative. So, that's really good to have in your profile, because DNI is a hot theme right now with B schools. And me saying that, I work with my diversity department to help women to accelerate their career, that's a good story to put in. Other than that, you can also try to show. Now, this is not specific to technology, this is general. If you have any kind of fast track promotion, try to show that in your application. That I had that in my case. That kind of positions you as a very capable person that can handle the workload of an MBA program. And other than that, this is all you can do with technology. Show impact, show anything outside your work, and try to show that you're a very capable person. Again, because I did not have extremely unique points in my profile, that is true to my case. If you have someone like Weber who's written a book, then yes, please put that also. That will position you really well, and that would be my advice.
Yes. And Saket, what about, your thoughts for the prospective applicants, who are considering the international applications?
I started with this round. We're talking about the technology aspect of things,
Right.
but yeah, I've already spoken about this in the first go.
Correct. So, to summarize, things over here, we have you need to get into your stories into a lot of detail. Don't underestimate anything. And once you've got your stories in place, then you need to brainstorm and find the best stories and see what makes an impact and go behind the story, go behind your personality, look at the motivations and the inspirations that you get from your work experience with respect to, the best way to answer the MBA application questions. So first the essays, then your resume and your recommendation letters, all of that has a lot of value. So we are already running out of time. And in case you would, just briefly like to talk about what are the pre-MBA preparations you are going through once you get an admit from international school. So we'll just start from ladies first. We'll start from Harbinder and take the whole round on this.
Right. My pre-MBA preparation is learning Spanish, because INSEAD has a graduation requirement of knowing a third language. And yes, I have to learn Spanish, and that is not true to everyone, just INSEAD people. Other than that, I'm also trying to understand accounting. I come from a tech background. I don't know the head and the tail of what accounting is. So I signed up for a business foundation course, which is by Wharton. It's on Coursera. Apply for financial aid, you'll get it for free. I'm gonna do that. And other than that, I'm gonna start looking into how to. If you're planning to move to consulting, then try to start looking how do you solve consulting cases. Don't start on it. Just see what is the framework that you can approach things with, and that's it. Other than that, just chill and catch up on your sleep, because you will not get to do that during your program, and that should set you in a good position.
Yes, and Saket, what are your thoughts on how are you preparing for the pre-MBA, once you got an admit?
Yeah, I think the first thing to get out of the way is the visa aspect of things. So I think it's difficult, not a difficult, but like a lengthy procedure for all of us to do. So once you have an admit, I think get the visa thing out of the way once you've settled down on where you're going. And after that, as Harminder has already mentioned, so if you like, first of all, chill. I mean, this would have been a very long process, like writing the applications and figuring out your stories and sitting for the interviews. It's a very long process, and I think we do deserve a break. So just chill out. And secondly, there are, if you want to get into consulting, so there are a lot of programs, pre-MBA programs by say McKinsey, Bain, BCG. You could sign up for that. So it's not much. It might give you a flavor of what exactly is consulting going to be, and you'll just have a few networking events, so you might want to sign up for that. And secondly, coming from a technology background, you might not understand a lot of finance, and that is something that we are going to be tackling a lot in our MBA. So if we get a little head start on it, I think we'll not be scratching our heads when we actually go down and start doing it. So I think we can do a little bit of that. So I think that's more or less about it.
Right. And Abhijit, what are your thoughts on the pre-MBA preparation that you're going through right now?
So I completely agree with Shagit. Now it's time to figure out the visa process and all. And apart from, in my case, the SMEELS career fair actually starts in September 12th. So my classes is about to start in August 21. So I hardly have 3 weeks. So the career team has already contacted us. So right now we are trying to figure out making our resume better, and they are actually connecting with us in doing that. And many seniors are also connecting with us to do to improve our resume and all others, to making our stories much better. So that is what I'm doing currently. And if you want to have a head start in accounting or finance, you can do it. This is the right time to do, because you will have a lot of time, and most of the people might have already put their papers, so you will have comparatively lesser work. So yeah, that's the advice I would give.
Right. I'll just take a break over here. And guys, if you have enjoyed the discussion and had some takeaways, do like the video and subscribe to the GMAT Club's channel. They bring in, put in a lot of effort to bring the candid inputs for you. So, Weber, what would be your inputs for the pre-MBA preparation, once you got the admit?
I think this is one of the questions which I actually asked a lot of people who are like in senior year of my program. And the one thing which they have reiterated again and again and again is relax. You have crossed the first bridge of a marathon. The sprint is over. Take a break, relax, find out or get in touch back with your hobbies, catch up with your friends and family. And once the program starts, you're again going to get into that grinding cycle of study, sleep, work, repeat. So yeah, in the meantime, just relax and have fun.
Great. So,
There's one thing I'll just add.
yes, please,
Sorry. So
please.
I think one of the important things to like, which am sort of experiencing right now, is, so if you're moving to another country, so it's going to be a very, very big deal for most of us. And considering there'll not be any major support system for us in a different country, so try and maybe reach out to the people who are already in your batch. And I've made a couple of good friends. There have been a few networking events slash mixers or casual hangouts and all of that. But maybe just proactively try and reach out to people, make new friends. It will come in really, really handy, because thinking about moving to another country and actually going ahead and sorting everything out will require a lot of help in general. So that's what.
Great. So thank you for joining us all, Harbinder, Saket, Abhijit, Weber. When Venki had to leave because he had some other work to do, he was already on a holiday, and I just, got him for this discussion. So all the best for your careers ahead. And thank you once again for all the inputs that you have given us today. It's been a wonderful time. Thank you so much.